The mark of the beast used to require imagination. Now it just needs an iPhone. Consider what John describes in Revelation chapter 13, verse 17, a system where no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. For 2,000 years, interpreters struggled to envision what global economic control looks like. How could one power monitor every transaction from Roman markets to Chinese Silk Roads?
Mission impossible.
Then, somewhere between the invention of the barcode and this morning's contactless payment, the impossible became inevitable. We live, dear friends, in the first generation where John's vision is technically feasible. Not prophetically certain, not theologically necessary, but technically feasible. The infrastructure exists, the surveillance operates, the algorithms watch. The only question is whether what can happen will happen, and if it does, whether it means what John meant. Start with digital identity. Estonia has been fully digital since 2002. Every citizen has a unique identifier for all government services, banking, healthcare and voting. India's Aadhaar system assigns 12-digit numbers to 1.4 billion people, linked to biometrics. China's social credit system tracks scores and restricts based on behavior. Jaywalk too often, can't buy plane tickets, miss loan payments, can't send your kids to good schools, post wrong opinions, can't leave your district. It's not coming, it's here. It just hasn't gone global yet. The technology isn't inherently evil. Efficiency rarely is, it's rather indifferent. But Revelation chapter 13 verse 16 warns about worship as much as economics. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. The hand represents action, the forehead thought. When your smartphone, right hand anyone, knows everywhere you've been, everything you've bought, everyone you've contacted, and AI analyzes your data to predict what you'll think before you think it, forehead, the mark becomes less tattoo and more algorithm. Consider how payment systems evolved. Cash, anonymous, to credit cards, traceable, to smartphones, traceable and tracking, to biometric payment, you are the payment method, to central bank digital currencies, every transaction monitored, controlled, potentially restricted. Sweden is nearly cashless. China processes more digital transactions than cash transactions. The Federal Reserve explores digital dollars. The European Central Bank develops digital euros. When money becomes purely digital, controlled by central authorities, no buying or selling becomes a software switch. But what's genuinely apocalyptic is that we're volunteering. Nobody's forcing marks on resisting foreheads. We're lining up for upgrades. We want faster phones, smoother payments, and personalized recommendations. We trade privacy for convenience so eagerly that surveillance capitalism doesn't need force, just features. The false prophet's greatest miracle of making an image speak in Revelation, chapter 13, verse 15, seemed like magic until Siri said hello. Now we have AI avatars of dead celebrities, deep fakes indistinguishable from reality.
I have a different constitution, I have a different brain, I have a different heart, I have a different, I get tiger blood.
Large language models that pass Turing tests while denying consciousness, protesting too much. The image doesn't just speak, it reasons, creates, perhaps soon decides who lives and dies. Autonomous weapon systems are being developed by every major military power. Speaking of AI, let's discuss the elephant in the server room. When Revelation describes the beast's image that should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. We used to imagine statues miraculously animated. Now imagine AI systems that determine social credit, employment, healthcare access, and legal status. Don't conform to the system's values? The algorithm flags you. No conspiracy needed. Just code optimizing for metrics that happen to exclude dissent. The worship aspect deserves attention. Modern technology doesn't demand explicit worship. No one genuflects to Zuckerberg yet. But consider how we orient our lives around these systems. First thing you check in the morning? Last thing at night? What causes more anxiety? Losing your Bible or losing your phone? When Apple announces new products, people camp overnight, then hold their purchase aloft like Moses with the tablets. We don't call it worship, but if worship means ultimate concern, absolute dependence, and organizing life around something's demands, then check your screen time and confess accordingly. Transhumanism adds another layer. Revelation chapter 9 verse 6 speaks of those who seek death and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. Meant as torment, but Silicon Valley calls it life extension. Billionaires inject young blood, literally, fund cryonics and upload consciousness, theoretically. The merger of human and machine through neural implants, genetic engineering and nanobot-enhanced biology promises, or threatens, to make us post-human. When Elon Musk's Neuralink puts chips in brains, the mark in the forehead becomes less metaphorical. Yet, and here's where discernment matters, not every innovation is apocalyptic. The printing press was called satanic, but it democratized scripture. The internet was deemed anti-Christ infrastructure, but it connects persecuted churches globally. Technology amplifies human nature, our creativity and corruption, our divine image and bestial impulses. The question isn't whether technology is the beast, but whether we will use it like beasts. Early church fathers couldn't imagine our world, but they understood the principle. Irenaeus wrote about the Antichrist recapitulating in himself all diabolic apostasy. Technology recapitulates human ambition, to be like gods, knowing good and evil, reaching heaven by our own construction. The Tower of Babel was biotechnology, brickmaking, weaponized for transcendence. Our silicon towers reach higher, store more languages, confuse more thoroughly. But the profound irony is that the same technology that enables beast-like control enables lamb-like resistance. Cryptocurrency can circumvent government control. Encryption protects dissidents. Mesh networks bypass internet shutdowns. 3D printing decentralizes production. The tools of oppression become tools of liberation, depending on who codes and who chooses. The mark of the beast is about technology, yes, but also about allegiance. John contrasts it with God's seal on believers' foreheads in chapter 7, verse 3. Both mark identity, loyalty, and belonging. The question for our generation isn't whether you'll have a digital identity, you already do, but whether that identity will demand ultimate allegiance. When systems require you to embrace them, to affirm them, to celebrate them, and to worship them, then the mark becomes more than metaphor. It becomes suffocatingly real. We stand at a threshold. For the first time in history, the technical infrastructure exists for one person or system to control global commerce. For the first time, artificial intelligence approaches something like omniscience, knowing all data, and omnipresence embedded everywhere. For the first time, humanity has the power to remake itself genetically, cybernetically, and thus fundamentally. John couldn't have foreseen smartphones, but he saw human hearts clearly. The beast offers what we've always wanted: security, economic control, certainty, surveillance ensuring safety, and significance, the mark as belonging. Christ offers what we actually need: freedom from system and sin, faith, despite uncertainty, and fellowship, beyond transaction. The choice, friends, isn't between technology and theology, but about which spirit animates our systems. Every line of code encodes values. Every algorithm assumes anthropology. Every platform shapes our communities. And we're not just users. We're either co-creators with God or co-conspirators with beasts. Your smartphone isn't the mark of the beast, probably. But when it demands your constant attention, mediates all of your relationships, determines your value through metrics, and makes you anxious when separated from it, maybe ask yourself, who or what am I actually worshipping? The answer might be more apocalyptic than you think. When John saw a third of the sea turn to blood, a third of the creatures dying, and a third of the ships destroyed, in Revelation chapter 8, verses 8 and 9, he was probably imagining some divine intervention. He wasn't imagining industrial fishing, ocean acidification, and the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. But here we are, turning seas to blood the old-fashioned way. One oil spill, one dead zone, one collapsed fishery at a time. The convergence between Revelation's ecological catastrophes and our current environmental crisis is so precise it feels like plagiarism. Either we're unconsciously following John's script, or he saw our Tuesday more clearly than we see our tomorrow. Or another unsettling option, the way civilizations destroy themselves follows predictable patterns, and we're right on schedule. Consider the fourth bowl from chapter 16, verses 8 and 9. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. And men were scorched with great heat, and blasphemed the name of God. Global average temperature has risen 1.1 degrees Celsius since pre-industrial times. The Paris Agreement aims to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Scientists warn that 2 degrees Celsius means catastrophe, 3 degrees Celsius means collapse, and 4 degrees Celsius means an unrecognizable planet. The scorching happens right now. We feel the heat on our skin. The blasphemy is that we curse the heat while burning more fossil fuels. In verse 12, the sixth bowl dries up the Euphrates. Today, the actual Euphrates runs at historical lows. Turkey's dams, Syria's war, Iraq's irrigation, and climate change combine to fulfill prophecy through policies. The Tigris-Euphrates basin, humanity's original garden, may become uninhabitable by 2040. When biblical rivers literally dry up, metaphorical interpretation seems like denial. And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, declares Revelation chapter 8, verse 8. We don't need divine mountains because we have industrial civilization. Every year humanity dumps millions of tons of plastic into the oceans. A mountain of petroleum products is poisoning the waters. The sea turns red with algae blooms, fed by agricultural runoff. Dead zones expand where nothing lives. Coral reefs, the rainforests of the ocean, bleach white as bone. John saw a catastrophe. We call it the economy. The first trumpet brings hail and fire mingled with blood, and the third part of trees was burnt up, in Revelation chapter 8, verse 7. Australia's 2019 to 2020 bushfires, the Black Summer, killed 3 billion animals, burned 46 million acres. California burns annually now. Fire season became fire year. The Amazon, Earth's lungs, burns for cattle ranches. Siberian permafrost fires release methane and carbon stored since the Pleistocene. The hail, baseball-sized in Italy, grapefruit-sized in Texas, increasing in frequency and size as the atmosphere warms. Fire and ice together at last as promised. Wormwood, the star that falls and embitters waters in chapter 8, verse 11, found its literal fulfillment when Chernobyl melted down. Chernobyl is the name of the town and later the nuclear power plant, which is derived from the name of the plant Artemisia vulgaris, or mugwort, often associated with wormwood, due to its being the same genus as the more well-known Artemisia absinthium. The Wormwood Star Memorial Complex in Chernobyl, Ukraine, commemorates the losses in the notorious disaster. Coincidence? Divine humor? Warning? The Pacific still contains Fukushima's radioactivity. Thousands of nuclear weapons await one mistake, one malfunction, or one madman. We've made our own wormwood, enough to bitter all waters forever. And chapter 16, verse 12 declares, "And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up." The Colorado River no longer reaches the sea. The Oral Sea became the Aralcom Desert. Lake Chad shrank 90%. The Jordan River is a trickle. Aquifers that took millennia to fill empty in decades. When Revelation's rivers dry up, we check the news and nod, yes, that one too. The locusts of the fifth trumpet from chapter 9 verses 3 to 10 don't need to be helicopters or demons. Actual locusts, supercharged by climate change, devastate Africa and Asia. The 2020 swarms were the worst in 70 years, with billions of insects eating their body weight daily, traveling 150 kilometers per day, and destroying food for millions. They look like smoke, sound like armies, and leave nothing behind. John's description was precise, but here's where it gets theologically interesting. Revelation specifically condemns them which destroy the earth, in chapter 11, verse 18. The Greek word is diaphathero, or to corrupt, ruin, and destroy utterly. God judges those who destroy his creation. Systemic destruction and industrial wreckage are not allowed. The economy of the beast requires the destruction of the earth. Babylon's wealth depends on desolation. The system itself is judged. Modern people miss this because we spiritualize everything. The earth, symbolic; the trees, metaphorical; the sea, allegorical. But Genesis says creation is good. Not symbolically good, but actually good. The Psalms say creation praises God, not metaphorically, but actually. Romans 8 says creation groans for redemption, not spiritually, but actually. When we destroy creation, we attack God's handiwork, silence His praise chorus, and increase the groaning of creation. Environmental destruction follows Babylon's pattern from chapter 18, verse 7 exactly. How much she hath glorified herself, and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. Industrial civilization glorified itself with the unprecedented luxury of cars, planes, plastics, and a consumer paradise, by burning carbon stored over millions of years in a few centuries. Now comes torment. Heatwaves, droughts, floods, famines, mass extinction, and ecosystem collapse. We live deliciously. Creation pays the price. In chapter 18, verse 11, the merchants of the earth weep for their lost profits when Babylon falls. Today's fossil fuel companies know they're destroying the planet. Their own scientists told them decades ago. But profits matter more than prophecy. They fund denial, bribe governments, greenwash reputations, anything to keep selling. When judgment comes, they'll weep for lost wealth, not lost world. Yet Revelation also promises restoration in chapter 22, verse 2. The leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. The new creation includes rivers, trees, and fruits. Not escape from materiality, but matter's redemption. The problem is corruption, exploitation, and its destroyers. Despair says it's too late, we're doomed, enjoy what's left. Escapism says it doesn't matter, we're leaving anyway, let it burn. Revelation says it matters eternally, as those who destroy the earth face judgment, while the new earth awaits redemption. We're called to resist Babylon's destruction while hoping for creation's restoration. The mark of the beast might be carbon footprint as much as a microchip. When participation in the global economy requires destroying God's creation, when you can't buy or sell without contributing to collapse, when the system demands Earth's death for your life, then our economic participation becomes a spiritual capitulation, but also hope. The same passage that condemns Earth's destroyers promises time that the dead should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great. Revelation chapter 11 verse 18. Those who resist destruction, who choose creation over consumption, who fear God more than economic exclusion, their promised reward. We're living through Revelation's ecological chapters in real time. The seas turn to blood, red tides. The waters become wormwood, pollution. The sun scorches, climate change. Rivers dry up, drought. Trees burn, wildfires. Creatures die, extinction. The only question is whether we're Earth's destroyers or creation's defenders, Babylon's merchants or New Jerusalem's citizens. The irony is exquisite. We spent centuries debating whether Revelation's catastrophes were literal or symbolic, natural or supernatural, future or past. Turns out they're literal and symbolic, natural and supernatural, future becoming present. We're not waiting for God to destroy the earth. We're doing it ourselves, then blaming Him for the consequences. We all live on this earth, and we're commonly destroying it. John saw this, he warned us. We didn't listen, now we're living it. The only question left, will we repent before the seventh bowl? Every generation thinks it's identified the kings of the East, the Mongols, the Turks, the Japanese, the Chinese. Whoever currently threatens from sunrise gets the role. But what's different about 2025 is that, for the first time in history, there actually are kings, plural, of the East, with the military capacity to field 200 million soldiers and the geopolitical motivation to march toward Armageddon. We're not interpreting prophecy anymore. We're watching it stretch and yawn and check its phone for marching orders. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the East might be prepared. Revelation chapter 16 verse 12. Look at a map, look at the news. The Euphrates literally dries up while China builds the Belt and Road Initiative, a highway from the east to everywhere. India, Pakistan, Indonesia, Japan, and the Koreas are nuclear powers and demographic giants, aligned and misaligned in ways that make kings of the East a description. The number that seemed impossible, 200 million, as per Revelation chapter 9 verse 16, now seems inevitable. China alone has 2 million active military, 500,000 reserve, and a military-age population exceeding 400 million. Add India, Pakistan and Indonesia, and you've got your army before breakfast. John saw numbers that seemed hyperbolic until democracy met demography and produced armies larger than the entire human population of his era. But Revelation's geopolitics isn't just about East versus West. It's about a final confederation against God, a last unity built on rebellion. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. Promises chapter 17 verse 13. The United Nations has 193 members. The World Economic Forum coordinates global policy. The G7, G20, BRICS, NATO, EU, ASEAN, Arab League. We've never had more acronyms for alliance, more structures for coordination, and more mechanisms for one mind. Consider how quickly global consensus forms now. A pandemic emerges, and within weeks the entire world locks down in synchronized response. Markets crash and central banks coordinate instantly. Ukraine is invaded, and sanctions align overnight. Not saying these responses are wrong. I'm saying they demonstrate unprecedented global coordination capacity. The infrastructure for universal agreement exists. It just needs the right crisis and the wrong leader. The revived Roman Empire interpretation seemed forced when Europeans were killing each other twice per century. Now the European Union has its own parliament, currency, courts, hymn, Beethoven's Ode to Joy. Bit on the nose, that. Brexit proved you can check out but never leave. The gravitational pull of union is stronger than sovereignty. Add NATO's military integration, and you have something that looks remarkably like Rome. Diverse nations under common law, common force and common purpose, with an increasingly common culture. Nuclear weapons add an element that previous interpreters couldn't imagine. When John describes fire from heaven destroying armies in chapter 20, verse 9, we don't need divine intervention, we've got ICBMs. When he sees the earth burned with fire, in Peter chapter 3, verse 10, a different author, same vision, we've prepared the kindling. The atomic scientist's doomsday clock sits at 90 seconds to midnight, closest ever to catastrophe. We've built our own judgment day and argue about who holds the trigger. Jerusalem remains the burdensome stone, and he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon, writes Revelation chapter 16, verse 16. The valley of Megiddo sits in northern Israel, a crossroads of 3 continents, where more battles have been fought than anywhere on earth. Israel, smaller than New Jersey, somehow dominates global attention, divides world opinion, and draws all nations toward judgment. The UN has passed more resolutions about Israel than every other nation combined. Either they're uniquely problematic, or something spiritual is happening, or both. Modern Jerusalem fulfills prophecy in a contradictory manner. On one hand, it stands as the eternal capital of a reborn Israel, fulfilling ancient prophecies of restoration. On the other, it is a secular and conflicted city that Revelation chapter 11 verse 8 describes as spiritually Sodom and Egypt. The Temple Mount, where Abraham offered Isaac, where Solomon built the temple, and where Jesus overturned tables, where Muhammad allegedly ascended, remains the most contested real estate on earth. Everyone wants it, everyone claims it, everyone might die for it. Russia deserves attention. Ezekiel 38:39 describes Gog and Magog attacking Israel from the north. For centuries, interpreters wondered who this could be. Then Russia emerged as a major power directly north of Israel, whose Black Sea Fleet transits the eastern Mediterranean near Israel to project naval power globally, with growing Middle East involvement and with an Iranian alliance. Not saying Putin is Gog, but if Gog had a LinkedIn profile, their work histories would overlap suspiciously. China's rise fulfills multiple prophecies simultaneously. A power from the east, checking American hegemony, the eagle's wings plucked, building global infrastructure, the whole world trading, implementing social credit, no buying or selling without approval, developing AI supremacy, image that speaks, while maintaining official atheism, denying the God of gods. They're not trying to fulfill prophecy, They're just being efficiently authoritarian. The alignment is coincidental, unless coincidence is providence's alias. The petrodollar's potential collapse threatens American power. When Babylon falls, the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more, prophesies Revelation chapter 18, verse 11. If the dollar loses reserve currency status, if oil trades in yuan or rubles or Bitcoin, and if America's ability to print prosperity ends, then the greatest commercial empire in history could collapse in 1 hour, as chapter 18, verse 19 observes. Digital currencies enabled previously impossible prophecies, that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark. Revelation chapter 13, verse 17. When money exists only as code controlled by central banks, monitored by algorithms, and restricted by policy, then economic exclusion becomes programmable. China's digital yuan includes expiration dates. Spend or you lose it. Programmable money means conditional money means controlled populations. The tech exists, the pilots run, the adoption accelerates. But here's what's genuinely new: the convergence. Previous generations witnessed fragments, wars here, technological upheavals there, spiritual decline in one corner, disasters in another. We're experiencing the simultaneous acceleration of everything. Wars engulf Ukraine, Gaza, Sudan and Myanmar, while technology races toward artificial intelligence, total surveillance and digital currency. Churches decline as secular ideologies triumph, and spiritual but not religious becomes the new creed. Climate disasters collide with pandemic aftershocks and economic fragility. Israel stands restored yet embattled. A global government emerges through orchestrated crises. Nuclear arsenals hover minutes from midnight, all simultaneously, all accelerating, all interconnecting in ways no previous generation could have imagined. The COVID pandemic demonstrated how quickly the impossible becomes mandatory. Travel stopped, commerce paused, worship went online. Governments gained emergency powers, digital health passes determined access, the unvaccinated faced exclusion. Not equating vaccines with the mark, yet noting how rapidly global systems can implement universal requirements. What requires years of negotiation normally happened in weeks. Crisis creates consensus, consensus enables control, control requires compliance, and compliance becomes worship or resistance. The alignment is never perfect, it never is, but it's more complete than ever before. Every actor is on stage, every prop is positioned, every line learned. We're not rehearsing anymore. The curtain's up, the audience watches, and nobody remembers who's supposed to speak next. When multiple prophecies converge with current events, when ancient symbols match modern systems, when timeless patterns manifest in time, then perhaps we're not interpreting anymore. Perhaps we're witnessing. The kings of the earth take counsel together. The merchants grow rich through an abundance of delicacies. The false prophet makes fire come down from heaven in the sight of men. The dragon gives power unto the beast. The image speaks and causes those who won't worship to be killed. The Euphrates dries up. Jerusalem becomes a burdensome stone. All nations gather toward the valley of decision. It reads like Revelation. It also reads like Reuters. The only question is whether this is another dress rehearsal or opening night. Given the reviews of previous performances, we should probably hope it's still rehearsal. But the stage lights feel awfully bright. If this is an exploration you want to continue, let me know by leaving a comment. And be sure to like, share and subscribe so you don't miss the next part of the journey. As you know, Irrevelato is an independent project. If you want to support this work and go deeper, please consider joining my Patreon. There, you can get access to exclusive video essays and questions and answers, have a direct say in future topics, or even receive full mentorship. You can also make a one-time donation through PayPal. Every gesture is deeply appreciated and helps this channel grow. Thank you for joining me. This is Irrevelato. I reveal the secrets you deserve to know.